All right, so welcome here, speaking our webinar on the three non-negotiables to reaching impossible goals. And I'm really excited to be giving this presentation, this webinar, back because when I started back Seven Core Wellness, I've been on doing this on my own for over 4 years. The mission of one of my passions was helping people figure out about, okay, how can they make healthy happen? What's really needed? What's getting in people way? What are the like these requirements that are needed? The people's really struggling with it, and I came through my own sort of like research and working with clients and even my own, that it seemed like these three common things were the three, were what was needed and required. And it's actually, I wrote the article for this over 2 years ago, and it's now become one of the highest hitting articles in Google and stuff like that. And it's been updated since then with a few things, but so I'm really excited to reach into that. All right. So just our agenda for our presentation for today, I'm going to be giving you a little introduction about Seven Core. We're going to talk about the three common myths that people typically might think is needed to reach their health and wellness goals. I'm going to just briefly discuss what the Master Healthy Habits method is, and then we'll dive deep into these three non-negotiables and end in some Q&A. All right. Okay. So Seven Core Wellness, for those that aren't familiar with it, we are healthy habit coaches. We really work with people, especially in their busy lives, of trying to create healthy, sustainable habits. We just believe that know how busy, demanding your life and your schedule is, that your health doesn't need to sacrifice. And a lot of people understand that, but sometimes really making that happen can be very challenging. And that's what we help people to do, because we just know how much it can transform their life when you're taking care of your health and wellness, how that just impacts all different other parts of your life. I am Ginger Asimas. I'm the founder and CEO of Seven Core Wellness. And just tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm a previous registered nurse. And when I was working as a nurse, I knew that I wanted to help people on the wellness side of things, of preventative side of trying to get them to stay out of the hospital. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do in regards to that. And just because time went by, I started getting involved and took a break from nursing as I was raising my daughter, getting involved in teaching group exercise classes, which I loved. That led me into becoming a certified personal trainer, which then led me to becoming a nutrition coach. And now I'm an advanced nutrition coach. And like I already had shared, I've started Seven Core Wellness about 4 years ago, but I'm so excited. Just over a year, it's been a year now that I've had two health coaches join me. We've got Sarah, who is located in the coastal Georgia area, and Veronica, who's in Utah. So we're national. All right. So a little bit about some of the services we provide. We do health coaching for individuals, partners, and for families. We also do corporate wellness. We have a ton of healthy habits resources, and we enjoy doing some speaking and presenting. All right, a little bit more still about us, and then we'll be moving on about how we were different than other health coaching platforms, in case you're curious. One of the primary things is our coaching is client-centered. We are not cookie cutter. Each person is so individual in their needs and what their goals are and what's going to work and fit into their life. So we're really focused on the client, helping them. It's more of a collaboration, a partnership, than just the coach telling them what they should do. We, as I shared earlier, we help the busy be successful. That demand, lose my iPhone, and that demand in our schedules of trying to achieve a healthy lifestyle. We really focus on work with like a lot of busy professionals and executives in that, but just trying to figure out how to get your daily routine so that you are living the healthy life that you really want to live. One of the other things is that we simplify the confusion of health and wellness information. It can be really overwhelming what to listen to, what to read, what to go by, and we really just simplify it as on what it means, basic foundations for living a healthy lifestyle. and clarify all that so there's not so much confusion. And then that helps you really kind of guide the direction on how to go. And we also, it's talking with the individual on what they're wanting to achieve and looking for, and us kind of defining that together. Because once you have a definition of what that is, then you can better figure out where you need to go and plan off of. All right, our fourth one is that we focus on sustainability and overcoming challenges. We are definitely, like, I mean, we are not about quick fixes. We want to, you help create healthy habits that are completely sustainable for the long haul, for the long term. And a big part of that is helping people to overcome those challenges that have been preventing them and being successful. All right, so enough about us as we dive in to the 3 non-negotiables to reaching impossible goals. And so as I'm doing this presentation, as I'm speaking to you about this, I want you to be thinking about maybe some goals that you have been trying to achieve. Maybe you're working on them right now, or goals that you have worked on in the past that you've just not been able to achieve. You're struggling with that. They seem like they're almost impossible, but I'm going to show you how to make them possible. Take that I am out, make them possible, achievable goals. So think about those things. I'd love for you to share those with me if you feel comfortable with it, or if you're watching this later, either responding back to an email or putting this into YouTube comments or something like that, and then sharing with us. All right, so let's dive into the 3 common myths that a lot of people think that they need to help further achieve their health and wellness goals. And a lot of times what people are waiting for is either the right time, the right quick fix, or the right motivation. And let's go more into each one of those. So waiting for the right time. Maybe this has been, someone who might be watching this, is that like, okay, when I finally don't have so much work going on, or now I've got young kids, maybe once my kids get older and I'll have more free time, and the time goes on and you find out that what you were hoping isn't quite quite what you thought, and you're still in the same spot. When I don't have so many to-dos, maybe you're also thinking, okay, when I get done with the holidays, I'm going to get on track. And then you find out then it doesn't really end up happening that way. Or another thing, and I'll be touching on this again later, is finding the right time when I can do it all. Sometimes a lot of people get overwhelmed thinking that, all right, well, if I can't totally eat right, get the right movement in, get right sleep, then why bother? When the little bit stuff really, really matters. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that. All right, but the truth is that any time is the right time to start when it comes to taking care of your health and wellness. And if you're watching this, you're probably like, yeah, I know. It is. So I'm going to hopefully will help you sort of give you some ideas on how to get started if this is a predicament for you. Moving on to the third one, a lot of times we're looking for that right quick fix, a pill, a detox, the perfect kind of HIIT class, a diet, doing a body rock, non-invasive procedures like getting the bulb in the stomach, or some sort of surgeries. While they can help, especially with people with weight loss, it can help that. It still doesn't help to create healthy habits in general that you may really need for your health and well-being. And the thing about these quick fixes, even if some of them work for a little bit, they only work for a little while. And again, it doesn't help you create, you can't do them forever. And it doesn't create that sustainability of a healthy lifestyle. And the final, but the truth is, so the long lasting result does come from hard work and basic principles. And if you're watching this, you're probably like, yes, I know it does. So encouragement on that, because it is really rewarding when you've worked towards something and maybe you struggle with something and you overcome it. It's just so empowering. And that's one of our favorite parts when working with people, is how empowered it makes them to make these lifestyle changes for themselves. All right, waiting for the right motivation. All right, I need to wait for the desire to come and then I'll do it. I need to really want it really, really bad for me to want to do it. And there is a part of a drive that needs to be there, but if you're waiting for that right motivation to come, that's going to keep you going. A lot of times it's not going to be there, especially in some moments when you really need it and you've got to just rely on something else and not on your motivation and desire to do it. Because if you need to make these changes but been struggling with it, there's these other principles we're going to be talking about are going to be ones that like to help just drive the action, are going to be what you're like, because motivation is not always there. It could be loading for a while and not quite get you. But what happens a lot of times when you just sort of step out and start taking some actions, the motivation can come a little bit stronger. And then that can be a driver for you to wanting to continue. So that's one of the kind of reverse things of thinking, instead of waiting for that motivation to really come, like something big happening. And we definitely don't want to help. I mean, I've worked with people like they've had a massive heart attack or had something happen that really had like a wake up call. And I want you to don't have to ever get to that point, right? But so just starting to make those action points and then having the motivation will come a little bit more as you start to feel better. It increases that motivation. All right. Okay. Truth is, motivation is unreliable, as I said. And so you must take action and you've got to trust the process. So the Master Healthy Habits method that the 3 non-negotiables has come a part of as over the years of me working and figuring out what's kind of the system in place. So here at 7 Core Wellness, we use this Master Healthy Habits method. And I'm really going to just talk about this really briefly, in that we have 3 parts and components. And one is mastering the basics, as I was talking about. We really simplify the basics of like that healthy lifestyle, from eating to sleeping well, to reducing stress, to like improving your nutrition. And then the second part is that system for victory. And that's what these 3 non-negotiables are. And then the third part of it is then, okay, great. We've laid a foundation. We've got a good system that's in place. How again do we keep it going for the long term, to create that sustainability, to create that getting to the goals that you're wanting to achieve? All right. Again, if you got any questions, don't hesitate to let me know as we're going through. Let's jump in. Let's jump in these 3 non-negotiables. Here we go. Here they are. They are the right mindset, the right plan, and the right accountability. And if you've read any of maybe Atomic Habits, which is super popular, and before that was Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habits, it's interesting as I read through them and they talk about some stuff and I'm like, oh, that's about the right mindset, and that's about the right plan, and that's about the right accountability. And so as you're looking at your goals, if you wrote down or you're thinking about them, maybe you already thought about the 3 myths that I've already said. Yeah, those were some things I was trying to rely on. And now see if when you've tried to achieve them, if one of these pieces, 2 or 3 or even, were missing before when you were trying to work on them. So let's go into the right mindset for victory. I love this quote by Joan of Arc, that all battles are first won or lost in the mind. We will be talking about mindset here for a lot of it, because that is usually the area that's the most struggle, is what's up in here, of getting to do the right thing and stuff. And so this mind shifts of going, when you shift your mindset to, and we're going to go through all these shifts in mindsets to have, it can really lead to new results. When you have a different outlook on something, it can totally change your attitude. It can totally change how things go. And so that is why it's so key and important when you're trying to achieve your health and wellness goals, that you really have a really good mindset and trying to see what parts up here are preventing you from being successful. So there's 5, I have found that there's 5 shifts of the right mindset that that might need to be done for someone. And that is going from victim to victor, self-defeating to life-giving, challenges to opportunities, perfection to progress, and selfish care to active love. And we're going to talk about all of those. All right, victim to victor. Though this is sort of going back to with Joan of Arc, how it's one in the mind. Your battle is one in the mind. Like, just, I already declare victory over it. If you're struggling with your healthy habits, just go ahead and, like, having that healthy lifestyle, declaring victory over, like, of being that unhealthy person that you see yourself. Claim the person you really want to be. And it makes like that I am. It's such a mental thing. Like, when you're calling yourself, I am the healthy person I want to be. If you keep that in your forefront before going to, like, the fridge to grab ice cream at nighttime, like, okay, wait a second. I am the healthy. Would my healthy person do this? No, wouldn't. So no more I wish, I'm trying, or if only type statements. And to give you a few examples of this, one is like, for somebody says, I wish I was healthy, things would be so much better. And here's this shift. I am a healthy person and things are going to be better. Big difference there. I'm trying to lose weight, so I can't eat that, versus say, eating that doesn't align with my healthy self. So hopefully maybe you see where the other person, the other shifts were more like already declaring, I'm healthy, it's going to make me better, rather than these I wish, I can't kind of statements. All right, moving on to the second one of self-defeating thoughts to life-giving thoughts. We can do a really good job self-sabotaging ourselves with a lot of untruth thoughts. And sometimes those thoughts may have actually come from people that have put them in us, but then we can also do a really good job ourselves. And so we need to shift those self-defeating thoughts, self-destructive untruths into more life-giving and truthful statements. Because on this, you deserve to have the best health and wellness. All right. And so some examples of this is some people at times identify because they do something bad, it makes them bad. I ate bad, therefore it makes me a bad person. Versus, how you eat doesn't determine the quality of the individual that you are. Another one is exercise is a punishment for eating badly. I've heard that one multiple times. Like, it is, I ate bad, so I'm going to go exercise it off. And so the fact that exercise, and then that makes it more of a task. That makes more exercising more of an unfun task. Versus something that needs to be more enjoyable and celebration. And I exercise because it makes my body stronger and supports my mind. Hopefully you can see the difference that those are. All right, moving on to the third one, challenges to opportunities. Okay, this is no surprise. When you're trying to create a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, try to create a healthy habits, there's challenges that are going to come up in your way. There are going to be some roadblocks. There are going to be some things that are going to want to throw you and derail you and all that. And instead of see those as opportunities, instead of seeing them as almost not giving you confidence of whether you can achieve it, but opportunities of making yourself stronger to be able to come over those adversaries, because we know that tough stuff we've had in our life is what makes us stronger. It really is. Just the same with going to the gym or going and working out weights. You have to put demand on the muscles in order to make them stronger. And the same is with happening when it comes to your healthy habits and trying to develop them. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks, see them as opportunities of getting stronger. So, for examples, I know what I need to do, but I just have so much against me. Getting through those challenges, instead, how to shift those, getting through those challenges will make me feel proud, make me feel stronger, and make it easier for the next time. So the opportunity that getting through challenges is going to present you. All right, it's hard for me to eat healthy because I don't like vegetables. And I've heard this from a few people. They don't like something, I don't like this. And so it's, shifting the thoughts, okay, I might not be a fan of vegetables yet, But I could try fixing them in different ways and see if I could find some more that I like. Okay. Because sometimes eating can be sort of boring, or it's just boring to some people. One client I'm recently reaching with is like, I could get bored, I get bored. And I'm like, it can be, especially if you're eating the same thing over and over again. But, you finding some different, a variety of stuff is what's going to help that. And so see those as opportunities to, again, to make yourself stronger and get you closer to your goals. All right, here is the next one about progress, a perfection to progress, because everyone have heard that a lot, as I mentioned before, as far as a lot of people are waiting for the right time of doing everything right and everything perfect. Instead of focusing on, am I doing everything right in one day or the next couple of days? And then you screw up, and then it's like, well, forget it then. Of seeing that the small changes over time are actually what's going to lead to better success than a total overhaul. Total overhauls, it can be like some people can do them and maybe they do a 30-day challenge of a total overhaul, but then like what's past that? A lot of people crash after that. They can last when it's like a short time frame and think, oh, after 30 days, now I'm going to get to have the treats or sweets or whatever that I've been wanting instead of, so, what really is, and it can seem like a longer journey when you're talking about, because we want things so fast and instantaneously, but the good things, the changes really happen with making small changes over time. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get into the right plan. But one thing about with perfection to shifting more, thinking about progress, is accepting the fact that mess ups are going to happen. They will. Mess ups are going to happen. Consistency over time is what's key. So even if you screw up a day or two or don't hit the mark just right, still picking it up the next day and then keep continuing. And maybe, over a month time, you have a few messes up. That consistency is really going to pay off rather than, okay, I didn't get every day right. And I think one thing we can be really hard on ourselves, as we talked about some of those self-sabotaging thoughts that can sort of have, is sometimes you need to give yourself some compassion and some grace for the times that you mess up and things don't go as you plan, and be like, you know what, I did. All right, that doesn't define who I am. And I'm just going to pick up the mark the next day because I'm not going to let this defeat me. Have that victory attitude about that. Okay, so examples for this, even though I was just sharing a little bit of them, I messed up my eating habits 2 days in a row. Here I go again. I can't keep this up. Shifting it to the last 2 days haven't been perfect, but that doesn't mean my progress is ruined. Maybe I need to consider a different plan. So sometimes when the mess ups happen, when say you're trying something and you've kind of planned it out and it's not going, then maybe it says, okay, it's not you as a person. It could be the plan, and you need to find and pick another one, pick something else, try a different tactic with it. Okay, another one. I'm trying to exercise more, and this month I only worked out for 10 days. Working out 10 days this month is more than I did last month. And it's the most consistent I've ever been. That is making progress. So shifting that mindset of like, even if it was like, that's why I love, and we'll get into the accountability piece of people actually using a paper tracker in some way to track their progress. Because, you can go back and maybe you plan to do X amount so many days in the month or of the week, and you didn't do as many as you planned originally. But if you compare it to what you've done before and realize, oh my gosh, I did so much more, I did better, that is progress. You want to just, that is progress. And the goal is the next month or the next week or whatever, you're going to smash it a little bit more. All right, the final one is the thought of that is selfish care to active love. A lot of times, especially with people who are like the primary caregivers, a lot of times taking time for ourselves, we can feel like it's sort of selfish to do that. And because we love to be taking care of everybody else and not ourselves. But taking care of your well-being is not selfish. It's actually, I see it as a form of love. not only for yourself, but it's also a form of loved ones and everyone around you. I really feel like for you to take care of your health and well-being and to take that time, it's actually showing love and respect for yourself. And it also just allows you to serve others better. So shifts for that. So you were saying taking time for myself is selfish. So if you sort of have those ideas, shift that around to best take care of those around me, especially for caregivers. I must take time for myself. It's an act of love to be at my best for them. It's hard for me to say no when asked to be helped with something because I don't want to be seen as a team player. So I want to bring in this. Just sort of reminds me. Sometimes I can get so talking about fitness and nutrition that part of like your well-being is creating boundaries for yourself and saying no in those moments when it's just too much and too overwhelming. And but sometimes we can have those um, thoughts of like what the other person's going to think about me for doing that. And so the shift would be that saying no to things when I'm overwhelmed and are thinking about my well-being is more important than someone's misperception. We're really good at creating stories about what other people are going to think, but you know, if it's going to be best for your well-being, your family, all that kind of stuff, for you to say no to something, then by all means, go do it. All right, that went over to the right mindset. We're diving into the right plan. And one of the keys, the reason that I have a notepad and a pin up here is because not just because it's a good one to represent planning, but there's a lot of power in writing stuff down, a lot. So when you're deciding you want to eat healthier and picking the example of like, I need to eat more protein. Well, I'm gonna go with protein. I usually use examples of protein, more quality protein, or say you want to say, I need to eat more vegetables. Just kind of thinking about it and like try and like, okay, I'll just try to remember to eat more next time when I have lunch or something. When you write it down and make a plan about it, and it does take a little bit of time to do that, but it will give you more success in the long run. Writing stuff down, it's a little bit of accountability too, but also just when you have a plan, you can be more confident in moving forward. And so that's why I said the right plan for success. And there's some key components of that, which we're going to get into, because as I was saying, just if you're just kind of thinking about it in your head of like, my goal is this without making a plan, it's just a wish. And the chances of your wish coming true is very slim without the plan. Okay, so there's 5 components of the right plan, or that helps you to create the right plan, I should say. It's number 1, pick your habit, define your why, identify challenges, create a plan, and get started. All right, so number 1 with pick your habit. And as I've alluded and talked to earlier, doing everything at one time is not the key to success with creating healthy lifestyle. So what we find works is picking 1, 2 habits at the most to really focus on implementing those into your life. And you want to choose habits to focus on more about adding things than not removing. For example, of habits of like adding, okay, you may have some bad habits that you want to get rid of, but focusing more on the good habits that you need to put in. And those will actually kind of help more bad habits. So maybe you eat a lot of processed carbs, pastas and French fries and cookies and all that kind of stuff. So instead of focusing on removing those things, focus on, okay, I know I need to eat more vegetables. So instead of having, the processed carb that I would normally get, like some and fries, I'm going to put that in that order. I'm going to have a side of vegetables instead, or either when I'm wanting to snack on goldfish, if I have a client who loves goldfish, I'm going to have some vegetables instead. So focus on the things of adding the habit. I want to add 1 to 2 servings of vegetables a day, rather than, and then when you're going to do that, which is a little bit later in the planning, rather than not what you want to remove. And the thing about it is you need to make them small, and you need to aim that you're going to be 9 to 10 on a scale. You're going to, 1 to 10, you're going to be 9 out of 10 confident you're going to be able to achieve that habit. Um, Working, because the vegetable one is one that I frequently work with people on, and I was talking with one client, and he only had like 1 serving a day, and so trying to increase that, I was like, well, how confident? He's like, well, I could eat more. I was like, well, how much? Do you think you could do 2 servings? How confident are you that? He's like, no. I was like, well, 1 serving, yeah, I can be confident that I could add 1. So maybe it's starting there, but that you're very confident that you can be able to do. And then, so you got to be really, that helps you feel that you're ready, willing, and able to do that habit. And do make them specific. Make it specific of like, that's why I keep doing it, 1 serving of vegetables a day, or I'm going to have 2 servings of quality protein, or I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk 3 times a week. I'm going to, maybe if you struggle with looking at your device before you go to bed and you go to bed way too late, at 9 o'clock at night, I am going to set my phone aside, away from my bed or whatever, so that I stop helping me look into social media. See, this needs to be specific rather than general. So that you understand what I'm saying there. If you're kind of struggling with what healthy habit to work with, we have this quiz about what healthy habit do I start with, and you sort of pick an area, whether you want to do nutrition or movement, stress reducing, or sleep. And if you answer the questions, it actually kind of gets you started with a habit for you to focus on. So you can check that out there. And if you sign up for one of the habits, we got some really great resources that come up in that email. All right, defining your why. So defining your why, what is your driver? Now, this is a little bit about mindset, but I think it's really important, especially if you're writing down this plan, to think about why you're wanting to achieve your goals and to create these habits. I've recently have just finished 1 book about self-control, and I've just got another one about willpower, which willpower is the same thing. Self-control, willpower are the same things. And one of the key things is you've got to have some bigger reason and keep it frequently in mind of why you're wanting to achieve the goals that you have. It's got to be bigger, and even like okay, really ask yourself why multiple times. So that maybe, and because it can be really deep and personal. When someone's looking, it's like, well, I know I need to improve my health. I'm like, why? Why is it right now that it's important for you to do this? What has happened? What are you wanting to achieve? What would your life look different? And why would you want it to look like that? You've got to keep that fresh driver, in your fresh of your mind, and that can help you with your motivation a little bit, as we're talking about. So that's why it's real important for you to decide, why are you doing this? Why is this so important for you? All right, number 3, identifying the challenges. Now, I think this is one of the things that people don't think about very much if they are creating a little bit of a plan that they're following for creating, healthy eating habits, exercising, is to think about identifying the challenges that are going to get in your way and keep you from being successful. Also, and when you're thinking about your plan, thinking about maybe just conquering like 1 week at a time. I'm going to focus on this habit for this 1 week, and just focus, because sometimes you can get overwhelmed thinking about I've got to do for a whole month or something, but just kind of focus on 1 week. And so when you're planning out for a week, to whether it's I'm trying to get 10 minutes of movement in 3 times a week, what challenges are going to prevent you from doing that? And so you need to think about that. And then what could you do to make those challenges less of a challenges? See them as opportunities for you to get stronger, and how can I overcome those roadblocks that may potentially get in my way? Especially some of the most challenging ones also can drive around the fact that if you're trying to eat healthier and you're working on X habit for eating healthier, and then this could be with family members, you have a gathering, a part, we're starting to get more social right now as things, but, those kind of things that can end up being like, I'm trying to do well. And that when situations coming up this week that's going to make it very much of a struggle for you to be successful, start thinking now how it's not going to be successful, how it will be, how you will be successful for it, how you're going to conquer it and be victorious in the end. All right, so number 4, now it's like sort of like you've done this, now you can start really creating your plan once you've sort of thought about these things. And so, of course, you need to decide when you're going to start, okay? It's good to kind of plan out these things and say, okay, I'm going to start, and Monday can always be a good day for people, right? But I'm going to plan this, get this stuff together beforehand. So what actions will you do to need to make this happen for you? And as you can bring about considering your challenges as you're making your plan. And as I said, just start with like 1 week at a time. But for example, when what actions do you need to do to make it happen? Okay, I'm going to walk 10 minutes 3 times a week. I'm super confident I can make that happen. I'm going to, part of my plan, I'm going to schedule it in my calendar. I'm going to schedule it, be really easy, right before I make dinner. I can go for a 10-minute walk. I'm going to make sure my shoes and all that's available. Like, you got to think about those little details. It's nothing that's going to get that roadblock that's going to keep you from being successful. If something comes up, I'm going to reschedule it for another time, that kind of thing. If it's, okay, I am going to be eating more vegetables, and I've chosen to have dinner. I don't do too bad at vegetables, but when it's like lunch, I don't do a really great job with it during the day. Okay, what actions are you going to do to make that happen? I'm going to, get my food at the grocery store on Sunday. I might prep a few little like vegetables that I can just grab, so I don't have to think about it. They're already cut up and ready for me just to grab with my lunch or whatever. Or looking at your calendar going, I know I normally eat out and I order X, but instead I'm going to order X with this, and it's going to have a side of vegetables. So think about what are you going to do to help be to be successful in creating that plan and writing that down. All right, and then number 5, you just got to do the thing. You got to get started. You just got to take that action. You got to take that first step in that direction. And you can't necessarily trust on how you feel or rely on that willpower, if we've already discussed. You've got to just trust the process. And you may stumble, but you never need to get up. You never give up. And as I sort of mentioned, if it becomes too much of a struggle, that's when we need to rethink about, is my plan right? Maybe is my mindset? And then have I got the right accountability, which you're going to get into. And so, as I've already alluded to before, the more you do it, the more you're going to want to do it. So it's that initial getting started. And sometimes it can also be a little bit to stay on the path when, say, things aren't moving in a direction you would like, say, on the scale, and as fast, but just trusting the process of that's healthy styles and lifestyle changes and how I'm going to feel and why I'm doing that. All right, so there we go. We're finishing up with the plan. Going on to the third non-negotiable, looking at time, is the right accountability. To keep you in progress, to keep you on track, because accountability is that glue that ties commitment to the results. It is kind of like that stamp of commitment, because when you really find a really good accountability system, it is like, all right, I am committed to this thing. And there's different forms of it, which we're going to talk about. And so choosing the one that best is going to work for you, because sometimes you can sort of pick one of these, and I'm not diving into them just yet. You can pick one of these accountability things, especially things like trackers and stuff like that. And if you don't sort of publicly make it in some other sort of way, it's like, well, my tracker didn't, yeah, it's okay. And then, I didn't fulfill all my rings, or I didn't do that. So you want to make sure you have, the right accountability that you need to be successful. And so there are 6 of them. There's a paper, a technical, a social, a group, a friend, and then there's a higher. And so paper ones, and I usually leave out here, paper trackers, which we have in our accountability calendar. We've got that. And again, I love them. It's the simplest to do. And I think sometimes the simple is overlooked. It's just like it can be with healthy habits. People are trying to achieve, doing really complicated healthy eating when it's all just about eating real basic, real whole foods, or just getting some regular movement in every day. But having a paper tracker, the reason I like it is because it's a visual way to see your progress. When you're checking your marks, you've got your habits or 2 habits that you're working on fulfilling, and you're actually marking. It's a way for you to see that progress and see how you're filling up your chain. And maybe you don't get to give yourself, I mean, we might be adults, but we like our gold stars. I still think we like our gold stars and recognition. So I mean, when I feel out these things, I like to give myself big stars. Yes, I did it, and give myself big stars. And maybe there's some days that you don't get to give yourself a gold star, but then you just pick it up the next day, and you just still, and guess where, you don't want to break that chain. And so that's why, and you got to make it really visual, and put that someplace where you can see it to help you sort of stay on track with that. So I love a paper type of accountability. All right, technical. There are so many apps and out there that you can use to help you stay on track. And then some of them are good. You've got to decide if that really works well for you. I mean, I have the habit of turning my watch on when I'm doing a workout, and I want my rings to be, not all my rings, at least get the satisfaction of my fitness rings, because maybe my standing rings don't get closed all the way, even though I'm up plenty of time, but the thing doesn't count it. And stuff. But with the thing about with the technical, it can have some value. But sometimes, especially some data stuff, is like, well, what do you do with it? And then it's not going to be really, not up as much as we are on our phones. It cannot be, maybe not as visible of seeing your progress potentially as maybe having something paper potentially. But it works. That's why I put it up here. It's something that can really work for some people, and so it is one of the accountability measures. The other one is social. So putting out on social media that you are, making these changes and stuff. People have different feelings about that. I myself have a love-hate with social media, but I do love to see when people are like sharing about their health and wellness journeys and stuff like that. And who knows who you might encourage in that process. So if you're not too shy to do that, I think it's a great one that people can use, and they can cheer you on, because part of the having an accountability is having a tribe to help you, to support you, and that you're not doing this alone. And so that's especially going into groups. Groups are a great way for a tribe, finding a group, a support system, a friend. Well, I'll get into friends in a second. That's why like group classes are so great, right? But finding a group to be to work together. And then the other one's finding a friend or family member that you can work with or help hold you accountable. And of course, you have to be careful about sometimes our family members, if we help them to hold us accountable, but you really want to find someone that's going to be able to hold you accountable. And, you'll feel good about them following up with you and be like, hey, what about this and stuff. And then the sixth option is to, of course, you could hire yourself a coach of some sort, to really help the accountability piece, as far as whether it's a personal trainer, nutrition coach, healthy habits coach. All of those are examples of getting someone for accountability. All right. So I have this image. We're almost done here. There's a couple more slides to go. And I want to put this in, that a lot of people use their scale as an accountability partner. And I want to speak on that, because the scale can be really bad accountability partner. The scale, not to say it doesn't have any use. It's just a tool, though. It's just a tool. It can help with you determining your progress a little bit, but it's just, we can get really fixated on a number on a scale, and it can deter us from wanting to make progress. So depending on the individual what I work with, I most people, I say not even to get on it, but like once a month. And it's the same time, and especially as women, like the scale just varies so much during the month and stuff like that. And there's just too many other factors in place that could dictate this number on the scale, that I'm not a huge fan of that as an accountability calendar, as an accountability method. And the other thing, even in this basket right here, where has somebody is counting their calories, and that's not sustainable. And I don't, I want to work with people to establish of having the right quantities of just, instead of calorie macros of like I'm having X of this, instead of like serving sizes. That's a lot easier to deal with. And then it just sort of becomes natural of how to make a complete meal, and boom, you're getting it and you don't have to think about it, and you're not having to worry about counting calories. Because a lot of times if people just benefit from just removing that processed food and getting that real food in, you really don't even worry about counting calories. So so you may want to throw your scale in the cash. Possibly. Sometimes some people want to do that. Anyway, all right, the 3 non-negotiables, there you are: the right mindset, the right plan, and the right accountability. So if you thought about, as we've gone through this, maybe some goals, and the goals, again, don't have to even be necessarily wellness related. It could be other goals that you've tried achieving in life. And if you think about why you've been successful, chances are these 3 things are the reason why: the right mindset, the right plan, and the right accountability. And these are the 3 non-negotiables. You can't just pick one. You've got to work through all 3 of these. Because you can make a perfect, really good plan, but if the mindset's not in the right spot, it's not, you're not going to be successful at it. And the same with having a really good accountability. You can have good, but if you don't have a plan, then what good's the accountability, right? So that's why all these 3 are super, super important with all that. All right. So as I said, which one of these has maybe been missing for you? I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're watching this. Well, I mean, if you're here now, you can share with me if you'd like to. If one of these has been an area that you've like, oh, no, I hadn't thought about that. But if you're watching this on, YouTube or whatever, on the, or got this via email, please reply back. Let me know which ones you're sort of struggling with or haven't not been successful with. And of course, you need help. We can help you with that. Here at 7 Core Wellness, we've got some resources. I was alluding and pointing to this Healthy Habits Starter Guide that we have on our website that has a worksheet and accountability calendar. I've also have my Warrior Approach Guidebook, which is even getting more in depth into what we've talked about today. And so that's available on Amazon. And it's a workbook. It's literally a workbook. You think I'd have one here handy, but it's further down. It's a workbook that you work through. That's why I like it, because a lot of people, they read wellness books or something. It's like, great, and you shelve it. With this one, I want you to put things into action. I want to help you take action. And then, of course, we've got Healthy Habits Coaching, working with us where we get started. You do a really great in-depth intake form. And then we work together. Then we have a starter call for an hour. We just talk, and we get started on which healthy habits do you need to work on, what's going to get in the way, start coming up with the right mindset, the right plan, the right accountability for it. And then every 2 weeks, we are having calls to follow up. In addition, in between that, we are having myself or one of the other coaches you're working with are there for your accountability, touching in base with you and seeing how you're doing. So, all right, and leave it to any sort of questions to see if you have any. This time. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. So I'm just an encouragement to you. Let's make these goals and that you've been wanting to achieve. They are possible to do. Just need to get these things in place to help you achieve them. Thank you so much for taking this time. For those that are on with me right now, the recording will be sent out for tomorrow. And if you want to set up a 20-minute call with me, let me know. You got my email. And thank you so much.